The purpose of this video is to compile all the evidence of what destroyed Halo Infinite's development and create a clear understanding of what went wrong. Specifically, this video will cover former 343 Industries and Microsoft leadership, and how their horrible leadership affected the stages of Infinite's development. I didn't plan to do this video until I read the replies to my tweet about campaign DLC and Spartan Ops style PvE being cut from Halo Infinite. Many Halo fans started attacking 343 Industries in the comments, and it became very clear to me that way too many people aren't aware of the information that has been shared over the past few years and are placing the blame on the wrong people. So parts of this report may be old news to some of you, but hopefully it can help educate and clear things up for the majority of Halo fans. Now, let's get into the evidence. I'm starting things off with a tweet by former Halo 5 developer Tyler Owens because it reveals that Halo Infinite was doomed from the start by horrible leaders when the planning stages for Infinite first began in 2015. Tyler worked at 343 from 2015 to 2016, and during that time, he experienced extreme trauma caused by leadership. Patrick Wren, a designer who worked at 343 from 2013 to 2021, replied to Tyler with the following comment: "I have been at Respawn for a year and am still having to adjust and deal with the ramifications of 343's leadership." A month prior, Patrick said, "The layoffs at 343 shouldn't have happened, and Halo Infinite should be in a better state. The reason for both of those things is incompetent leadership up top during Halo Infinite development, causing massive stress on those working hard to make Halo the best it can be." Tyler's comment was also supported by former narrative designer Morgan Lockhart, who left 343 in 2016. She said, "It's hard to know what to say when you exit an experience with a bad place full of good people because you care about those people still there. But given all that's happened, I will lend to the voices saying that 343 Industries had deeply entrenched harmful cultural issues. I'm sad for my friends who are now jobless in a deeply uncertain economic climate, but I can't also help but feel relief they are out of it. I recently had a significant trauma panic response because of my time there. I continue to grapple with the damage every day. I emerged from 343 completely burned out, with a fear of ever being a leader because of how much I watched my leads be burned to the ground, physically, mentally, and emotionally, from fighting so hard. It's hard to undersell the feelings I have of lost time and what it has taken to get back what my years there took from me with respect to psychological safety, trusting others, trust in the industry, and most deeply, trust and confidence in myself." So Tyler, Patrick, and Morgan deal with trauma because of past 343 leadership. This was also supported by former multiplayer producer Michael Byron, who worked with Tyler and Morgan and left 343 in 2021. He said, "Morgan has a great take on how I felt upon my departure. I know many people expressed this exact sentiment once they left. This confirms that these problems continued throughout Halo Infinite's entire development." To give you an idea of what these former developers dealt with, Colby Payne, a level designer who worked for 343 from 2019 to 2021, revealed that during a meeting with 343 leadership, he was told to shut the fuck up and do our fucking jobs. Horrible leaders weren't allowing the hard-working developers who truly care about Halo to share their input. They constantly criticized developers and created such a harmful work environment that developers suffered from trauma. Two other issues at 343 Industries also caused development problems. Jason Schreier reported that the Slipspace engine caused a lot of problems for developers. Specifically, it's buggy, difficult to use, and the reason why game modes like Extraction were delayed and modes like Assault still haven't been released. The other issue, which Jason reported, was that leadership split up developers into divided teams. Several developers said these teams competed for resources and made conflicting decisions, and it became so bad that 4 to 5 versions of Halo Infinite were being developed at the same time. This division among 343 Industries caused Halo Infinite's creative direction to constantly change late in development. Now it's time to talk about Microsoft. The problem started back in 2017 when Microsoft implemented the following policy for contract workers. Microsoft will only grant access to its corporate network and/or buildings to contractors for an 18-month period. At the end of the 18 months, Microsoft will remove their access for a minimum of 6 months before granting access again. This policy completely destroys video game development because it takes years to develop games, and development teams are constantly reduced in size. Unfortunately, 343 Industries heavily relies on contractors who made up almost half the staff according to estimates. Since Microsoft restricts contractors from working for more than 18 months, 343 Industries constantly lost hard workers who fought to make Halo Infinite great. Nick Bird, who was an associate at 343, says, "Don't forget the heavy reliance on contractors and that messed up system. I would have loved to stay on the team." Patrick replied to Nick, "The contract stuff is a whole other can of worms that pisses me off. So many amazing people and talent that just disappeared." In a separate comment, Patrick revealed that 343 Industries placed too much responsibility on contractors who constantly had to leave because of Microsoft's policy. Also, Tyler Owens said Microsoft's business practices and contracting policies set up Halo for failure and are killing the franchise. Another issue is Microsoft was too focused on launching the Xbox Series X and S alongside the release of Halo Infinite to increase console sales. Microsoft told 343 that Halo Infinite had to be a launch game, and the timing wasn't up for discussion. Rather than providing 343 with as much time as needed to create the next installment of Xbox's most important blockbuster franchise, Microsoft rushed 343 to finish the game. After the negative responses to the 2020 campaign demo, Microsoft finally realized they needed to delay the game. Shortly after the delay, Joseph Staten returned to 343 Industries as the creative director and immediately began boosting morale to help motivate developers who lost hope and were broken down by incompetent leadership. Joseph also immediately persuaded Microsoft leadership to give 343 as much time as they needed to fix things for Halo Infinite by presenting them with a list of features that would make Halo Infinite a success. This is why Microsoft decided to delay the release until the end of 2021. So shout out to Joseph for talking sense into Microsoft. Lastly, Phil Spencer admitted that Microsoft wasn't being honest with themselves about how much time Halo Infinite needed for development and simply hoped for the best. He said, "We should have known before and just been honest with ourselves. We were there not out of deception, but more out of hope. And I don't think hope is a great development strategy." Now, for the final part of this video, I will cover Halo Infinite's development process throughout each year to show how these leadership and contractor policy issues destroyed Halo Infinite. Starting in the summer of 2017, 343 was still exploring ideas for Infinite, as shown in these two clips from Jeff Christie. Jeff said these are excerpts from a longer video that involved a lot of the Sandbox team, and all of the equipment were just placeholders, meaning this was just a concept. Something I find interesting is that each clip is for a specific type of class, specifically recon and heavy classes. This reminds me of the Spartan Ops style PvE content that was planned for Halo Infinite, which was confirmed by a former developer, Kevin Schmidt. Kevin said the PvE content in The Division 2 makes him realize the PvE content they set in place for Infinite would have worked. So maybe PvE involved open world missions and weapon classes, but one thing that's definitely true is that Spartan Ops style PvE content was cut from Infinite. Kevin also said a significant amount of work was done by a group of skunk work designers to create and implement a few features and systems for campaign DLC. When Halo Infinite first released, the Halo Waypoint website contained a section that stated campaigns, and data found on Steam includes the mention of DLC and a Season 1 for the campaign. So 343 did plan to release campaign DLCs, but scrapped it because of how much content had to be cut. In August 2018, 343 released the Halo Infinite announcement trailer, which they said was a clear indication of the direction they were heading with Halo Infinite, and a snapshot of what's possible with the Slipspace engine. A source told me the main purpose of the trailer was to reveal Slipspace and attract potential new employees, rather than being an accurate representation of what was planned or developed for Infinite. This is somewhat confirmed by former 343 director Dan Chosik, who shared the earliest pre-visualization of Halo Infinite, created in July 2018, to showcase the innovative narrative direction 343 wanted to pursue. This was created with Halo 5 assets, and pre-visualizations are created to guide creative direction before development begins. So this means that in the summer of 2018, 343 still had yet to begin development on the final version of Infinite, and the trailer was just a visual of their ideas. However, some things from the trailer made it past the planning stages of development, such as this desert biome found in official concept art and the ending cutscene of the campaign. And this new creature called the Crusher, which you could see an outline of in the trailer and was almost completely developed. There's even a cave in the campaign that was meant for the Crusher. Then, in 2019, 343 Industries decided to cut almost 2/3 of the entire game because of the severe issues with creative direction and overall development. This was reported by Jason Schreier, who also revealed the game's open world was cut back from a vast Zelda-like experience into something far smaller. Another post from Dan Chosik reveals 343 was still recording a lot of mocap in December 2019, and this video was the first time that the protagonist, Escaram, was shown to the 343 team. Keep in mind that at this point in time, Microsoft gave 343 Industries the holiday of 2020 as a deadline to finish Halo Infinite. But clearly, there was still a lot of development left to do for Halo Infinite. In 2020, during the early stages of the COVID pandemic, Dan put together this early cinematic progress video to help bolster belief and momentum in Halo Infinite amongst developers. Not only does this prove development was far behind schedule, but that there were major leadership issues causing developers to lose faith in the project. Then in July, 343 released the campaign gameplay premiere video, which received negative responses. Former 343 Industries skybox artist Eric Lynn said the reason for that is many features of Halo Infinite's slipspace engine were not fully implemented at that time, so they were still facing problems with slipspace in 2020. Eric also said executives were overambitious, which led to some content he developed over the years being cut from the game. A month later, Microsoft decided to delay Halo Infinite, and Joseph Staten rejoined 343. In 2021, Halo Infinite released with a lot of missing content, but things began to improve in 2022 when Pierre Hintz took over 343 Industries as studio head, Brian Koski became GM of the franchise, Elizabeth Van Wyck took over business and operations, and 343 began to make changes to its development structure. You can see the positive effects of this new leadership and structure and the drastic improvements in seasons 3, 4, and 5 compared to the first two seasons when old leadership was in charge. So despite all of these issues that have plagued the Halo franchise for years, things are finally looking up for 343 Industries and the future of Halo. Alright everyone, that concludes this video. I hope you learned a lot and have a clear understanding of what destroyed Halo Infinite's development. Also, my next video will be about more cuts content from Infinite, so stay tuned. Alright everyone, peace!